Hi, my name is Vicki Fairchild. I'm here with my sister Selma. And today we're going to tackle something a little more sensitive and probably one of the most difficult things that I know our family has dealt with. And that was the passing of the unexpected, very unexpected passing of our sweet little Joshua boy.
Yes.
I know this is going to be really hard. But there was a lot of very tender moments that happened. And so I'm asking you to tell the story.
Well, it'll be longer than I can tell. But Joshua was very active, very hyper his whole life. And for about a month, he was definitely not hyper, you know. And I kept wondering what was wrong. He seemed sick to his stomach a lot, so we did take him to the doctor, and they did a stomach scope, and they didn't find anything. We just kept trying to find something, you know, because he just wasn't Joshua. He was still Joshua, but he was just lethargic. And one Sunday, he just was so lethargic that I did take him to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. And at the emergency room, they found that he had pneumonia. And so we were all there as a family, and so they gave him 3 bags of fluid. He'd had pneumonia before, so that was actually a relief for me because I just knew that took time, and I just fully expected him to recover. So in the morning, I also expected to fully change his bedding because 3 bags of fluid, even with a diaper on, was going to go through at night.
Right.
And so he was dry in the morning, and his face was puffy. And my brother Glenn is like, you need to get him in. He said, something's going on with his kidneys. And that, the word kidney did put real fear in my heart. And so once again, went to the same emergency room, thankfully had the same nurse who had already loved him the night before. And after an examination, they needed to put a catheter in him. And so they did have to sedate him because he could not handle a catheter.
All right.
And even right before he was sedated, he handed one of my brothers the videotape because he had to carry his videotape with him. And they transported us to a larger hospital. And that was reality starting to set in a little bit. And I could hear my family members, you know, talking about calling grandma and having people come, and I thought, what are they talking about? You know, we're just going to go to the hospital. They're going to find out what's wrong. He's going to be better. And so he did stop breathing once that afternoon, but they got him going again. And talk about denial, I still was in denial that anything serious was happening with Joshua. And so they started testing. They put him in ICU. And we went home that night, which still scares me to this day because I didn't realize how serious this situation was. But we came back in the morning, and they had changed doctors. They needed a new doctor to try to find out what was wrong with him. And the new doctor said, you know, I want to do an EKG because none of the other tests are coming back that we can figure out what's wrong. We don't know why his kidneys are shutting down, why he has pneumonia, why all these things are happening. And so when the technicians came in with the EKG is when I could really feel that there was some very serious issues going on because the room was very solemn during that test. And by then it was about 2:00 in the afternoon when the doctor came in and gave a preliminary report to Joshua's dad and I that the preliminary report was that his heart was large. And that's why he was fatigued. That's why he was lethargic. He was starting to breathe shallow. And so he said, I've already called the cardiologist and they will be here at 5:00 to let you know what that meant. And I remember calling a friend and crying because I just was like, well, he's never had a heart problem. And it's shocking.
Yeah.
And as we were sitting there trying to contemplate it, I remember his dad Mike said he just flatlined. And right when he said that, of course, the crash cart and all the hospital workers came running in, and they take us to a little room. And we can see that they're working on him, but we can't see him anymore. We just know there's a lot of people in there. And they came in once and said, we can't get him his heart rate back. What do you want us to do? And I said, keep trying. I really thought they could get it back. And during that time, the miraculous thing that happened was my brother Glenn suddenly showed up, and I had asked for my brother. So when they actually came back and said that Joshua had died and they had done everything they could, I did have multiple support in the room. And because that's, you can't describe the excruciating pain of that moment.
I remember when I was called, and it was just such a shock, because we knew about the pneumonia, we knew that he had gone back into the hospital, but as a family, we were not prepared for this to happen. We had been dealing with, seizures and the other things for a long time, but we did not anticipate that anything
He was so alive.
He didn't stop, And I will always remember, I had two friends come over. I couldn't even pack. They packed for me. They got me to the airport, and I was able to see Joshua. It was probably the fastest pack airport in the plane before he was taken away.
Well, the hospital was so gracious because they gave us as much time we needed as a family around him in the room.
Right.
And then they knew you were coming, and so as family left, they said how much time, and they gave us as much time as we wanted
to say goodbye.
Mike and I had a lot of time with him to be with him.
Yeah.
And say goodbye, and the hospital just was wonderful.
But I will always remember walking in, and I just was not prepared to say goodbye. And you were still holding him.
I was holding him.
And I think when we look back at we've talked about all the hard times and the good times and everything all rolled up, and in that moment we realized what he was such a part of everyone's lives and our family. He, as Glenn liked to say, he made our family a better family.
He did.
We didn't do anything as a large extended family that couldn't accommodate Joshua.
Right.
And if we were going to go hiking, well, someone was going to carry him.
Right.
And if we were going to do this, well, we got to figure out how to make that appropriate so Joshua can come.
Right.
Because everyone was included.
Right.
Everyone was included. But the biggest testament to us about the impact of his life, with all of the difficulties, the beauty, the hard things, it was all just made a beautiful life, was how many people he touched through his high fives and his hugs and his handshakes. Because when we showed up for his funeral, the people just kept coming. All these elderly people and young people who had felt that love of his enlarged heart.
And I just received so many cards and letters and stories of how he had touched their lives. And even a photo album with letters and pictures from my wonderful church friends, just for him. That meant, I still read them.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that I didn't realize I understood from the time I was 9, when that
Yeah.
cute little angel was born into our family, was the impact and the positive impact someone with special needs can have on a whole system.
Right.
And how that the value of that and all the lessons he taught us as a family through the difficult things.
Through the difficult things. And the way he died, so we did have an autopsy done.
Yeah.
Because I needed as a mom to understand what happened. And his heart was twice the size, so he died of cardiomyopathy. But he died of who he was. Because he had a heart and a love for people that was bursting out of his soul. And so his little physical heart also got too big. And so I carry that with me the rest of my life. That, and our whole family will always feel his love. We will always share stories. We'll cry and we laugh. But his huge heart is what took him.
Thank you.